Hello, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar with the CCO. We're going to be reviewing the CCO's most recent investor presentation and discussing the company's key updates. And for that, I'm joined by the CEO and Managing Director, Anthony Noble. Now, there will be an opportunity for Anthony to answer some questions after this presentation. You can submit your question via the Q&A function in your taskbar at any point during this discussion. And without further ado, I'll hand over to the CCO's Anthony Noble. Anthony, thanks for your time today.
Thank you very much, Branka. Hi, everyone. I will share with you our presentation, which went out to the ASX today on the portal as well. If you'd like to download it, you can do so there. Well, thank you, everybody, and really happy to take everyone through the CCO's past year, our performance that we've had. Obviously, we've recently announced a very good quarter with record sales this quarter, but taking you through the full year of performance here, some highlights, as well as looking forward to our key growth pillars for 2024 financial year, focusing on 4 key areas where we think we're going to see growth in the business. But maybe starting first for those newer to the company with an overview of who we are and what we do and the problem that we address with our products. So the CCO's vision is a happier world where people take better care of themselves. Everything that we do is about making people's lives better. We provide powerful natural solutions that reduce stress and anxiety and support sleep and recovery. Our mission is to lead the market for natural products that can bridge the therapeutic and recreational space to become globally synonymous with calm. So we market and sell nutraceutical products as well as functional beverage products. And functional beverages in the future are becoming more of a focus for us, but nutraceuticals also at the core of what we do. So stress is the major thing that we address with our products. It's a huge issue. The majority of people experience stress at any given time, and particularly in the US and Australia and the modern world, people are finding stress all the time. And in particular, young people are 3 times more likely to be stressed but not take action to manage their stress. So it's a huge need in the population. And amongst the young population, it's a need which tends not to be addressed with conventional medical treatments. Stress at its highest then becomes anxiety, especially when left untreated. Anxiety is the #1 psychiatric ailment for people in the US. And only about 1/3 of people who are suffering from anxiety get treatment. So there's a huge unmet need for consumers, particularly, as I said earlier, those younger consumers, for something that can help them deal with their anxiety. And stress and anxiety are very correlated to each other, as I'm sure we all know. And the third point on the triangle between stress, anxiety, and sleep is obviously sleep. So disturbed sleep is a function of anxiety and stress. And when people are stressed or experiencing anxiety, their sleep is often the first thing that suffers. I think we all know the familiar situation of lying awake at night, unable to get to sleep because we're stressed about something, and then feeling tired the next day and reacting more poorly to stress. And this is something that creates a cycle. The core to our products are carbolactones, which are the drug substances found within the noble kava plant that we use to formulate most of our products. And the noble kava plant and the carbolactones in it have a very unique pharmacology, in particular, that addresses both stress, sleeplessness, and anxiety. There are 6 drug substances that are in the carbolactone family found within noble kava. One of those drug substances affects the GABA system. So we all know the GABA system as the feeling that we have at the end of the day as we start to feel tired. Also, having a glass of wine or consuming alcohol stimulates our GABA system. So a very familiar, relaxing effect. Kava also interacts with the cannabinoid system in the body. So there's a cannabis-like effect to consuming kava products. So a little bit weaker interaction, obviously, than cannabis itself, but the cannabinoid system is stimulated by kava products. What's unique about kava is the third drug effect that it has, which is what's called MAOB, enzyme inhibition. This is the drug category that the drug Xanax falls into. So often you'll hear kava referred to as nature's Xanax. And this mood-improving and anti-anxiolytic effect that kava has is very unique. And so a single product in terms of kava that you can consume, which has the GABAergic effect, the cannabinoid effect, as well as having that anti-anxiety Xanax-like effect, makes kava extremely unique in its pharmacology and extremely well positioned to break down that 3-point triangle of stress, anxiety, and sleeplessness, which feeds into each other. So this is the opportunity that we've identified as a company to go after, and we're formulating products in the form of nutraceuticals and functional beverages to address this particular need. We've also got within our company a product range based on CBD, made in the US, which is a synergistic combination with the kava, and that's also something we can bring to market as a drink product. So these are not just hypothetical effects. These are effects that have been proven in the literature and with clinical trials. There's a number of clinical trials which have been undertaken, many of which were undertaken by our Chief Scientific Officer, Professor Jerome Saris. But across a Cochrane review, which is a meta-analysis of those clinical trials, we can see that kava has been proven to be more effective than placebo at reducing anxiety, as measured by the gold standard, which is the Hamilton Anxiety Rating Scale. So it's a strong clinical effect. When you dive into the literature, what you find with kava is that it's particularly useful at helping people who have mild to moderate anxiety. So if you have a very severe anxiety disorder, kava probably isn't the right product for you. But for everyday people experiencing high levels of stress, mild to moderate anxiety and sleeplessness, kava is a great natural solution for them. We can also look at kava through the lens of traditional Chinese medicine. And as we move into the Chinese market again this year, it's important for us to look at these things from this perspective. It's a natural product, which has multiple different drug targets, like many Chinese medicines. In terms of the Chinese medicine ideology, we see kava as a bitter and pungent herb. It's a yin-based herb. It's a cold herb. Very much, I would describe it as a female version of ginseng in some senses. It is something which can inhibit the liver yang, move the blood, and soothe the qi. So a good way to position the product in the Chinese medicine market is as a yin-based, effectively a female ginseng. So we market our products across 3 major brands at the moment. Probably the most well-known of our brands is Fiji Kava brand. You can see here our drinking kava, powdered kava products form the vast majority of the products that we sell, particularly in the US. We have a nutraceutical range that we sell here in Australia, and we have a range of teas, which we also sell in the US only at this point. The oldest brand in our family is the Takimai brand, and this brand is the subject of the recent distribution deal that we signed with CJ Patel across 17 countries. Our newest product in the range is the Takimai Low-Key product that you can see on the left. Takimai form is a traditional drinking kava brand produced in our factory in Fiji. And we also have a number of dietary shots that have been sold in the past. And we have some exciting new kava juice shots coming to market under the Takimai brand in the future. The most recent brand in our family is the Danadan brand of US FDA certified organic herbal tinctures based on CBD, made in Oregon. These are a patented formula for liquid dispersible CBD tinctures, synergistic with kava, and which can be added to a drink in any form that you like. So beer, coffee, juice, or whatever. Also, they can be taken directly sublingually. A functional range of products sold throughout the US at this stage through Danadan.com and a number of specialty health food and retail stores throughout the Pacific Northwest. So the business in the year to date has been focusing on a number of different pillars. We've really been looking at building a lean corporate and flat structure, so bringing the business under significant cost control, with our OPEX down by around 1.5 million for the full year 2022, based on initial numbers. Continuing with innovation and product development, so developing some new products that you'll see launching very shortly in terms of effervescent fizzes, new nutraceutical formulations, and of course the kava juice shots that we've discussed. And we've been moving more towards a method of distribution into retail where we work with distributors. So particularly with CJ Patel, focusing on e-commerce where we can ourselves, and then focusing on a small number of retail points of sale where we can make a profitable impact in those businesses. Probably the most important part of what makes us different is our supply chain excellence. And I'll talk about that in just a moment. But over the course of the year, we've been transforming the business to become leaner, more profitable, and to focus on channels of sales where we can make the highest return. Our sales have now started to pick up with an 80% jump in Q4 to the largest quarterly sales that we've ever seen. Our gross margins are up for the year by around 20%. As I said, our OPEX has been cut by around 1.5 million, and the bottom line impact of those changes has been a profit improvement of around 25% for full year 22. We are now in a really solid position for growth. The business has made significant investments in our supply chain, and we can scale the business now without further CapEx investments in the Fiji market. Over the course of the last 10 years, the business has been building a supply chain that is extremely difficult to replicate in the Fiji Islands. More than $10 million has been spent on this, and we now have a number of collection hubs that span the entire geographical span of the Fiji Islands, meaning that if an individual weather event or particular climate change impact was to hit one of our collection hubs, we are very, very robust to be able to stay in supply. We've duplicated manufacturing and now fully moved our manufacturing hub from the island of Overlau in the east of Fiji to the main island in Navua, which is around 30 kilometers from the capital, conveniently located near the port and the airport in that southeast area of Fiji. So we're now on the main island in a 40,000 square foot, much larger factory. We've made significant investments in drying technologies and manufacturing technologies that mean that we'll be able to scale our business up to 5 times to meet demand in the coming year with virtually no additional CapEx expenditure. In terms of carver supply, over the course of the pandemic, obviously supply for everybody was significantly disrupted. We took this opportunity to move into a much more serious commercial arrangement with many of our farmers. We have a partnership with the Aitauke Trust Fund Board, which is the indigenous landowning body in Fiji, and through them, the Tutu Agricultural College, which is a conduit to around 50 to 60%, 60 to 70% of the carver farmers in Fiji, through the Condorove province in the northeast that you can see there. We've also got a number of significant commercial farm offtake agreements now in place. These are fixed price offtake agreements that span a number of years with significant holders of carver in the ground. The product can take between 3 and 5 years to grow. So understanding our network of farmers, we have around 20,000 on our database. We actively source from around 300 farmers. We know what carver is in the ground, at what level of maturity, in what subspecies, and what our demand will be in the future. So we can map that out now in a much more significantly planned, forward contracted way to ensure that we have the lowest cost and highest quality carver that anyone in the world can source. Importantly, when you look at the supply chain for carver, it's punctuated by middlemen and non-transparency. We buy directly from farmers and we sell directly to consumers and to carver bar owners in the US and to retailers in Australia. So there are no middlemen in our business. It means that we can pay a really fair price to the farmers in Fiji, as well as being able to have a cost advantage compared to our competitors who are buying in that fluctuating commodity market. We're committed to having a fully transparent and digitized supply chain. We're working on a project now with a company called Traceable Solutions in Fiji that will be rolled out over the course of 2023, which will allow us to be able to communicate to consumers exactly where the carver from every single product has come from. We've always known this. This has always been part of our quality system, but we're now turning that into something that a consumer can interact with through a code on a product. Look at the product that they've bought, scan a code, see the farmer that's grown it, and have that connection back to where that product's come from. Part of our move to the major island of Fiji has been to build a partnership over the last 2 years with Kaiming Agricultural Processing, the largest processor of ginger in Fiji. We're working with him on major projects around carver and potentially ginger and turmeric as well, and some new product development. And as we grow, we have a plan to merge our company, particularly in the carver part of the business, with Kaiming, who is a significant operator in the Fiji agricultural processing market. So now I'd like to move on, having given you a picture of the business for those that potentially didn't have a clear picture of it, into some group and segment updates for the last 12 months. So as I've said, in the last 12 months, the business has been transformed. We've been trying to work towards a leaner business model and a business model where our cost to get sales is reduced. So I'll now present to you some group and segment updates for the business. So highlights for the business really have been that we've revamped senior management. Importantly, our CFO joined in May 2022, Pravinesh Lala, who's completely overhauled all of our accounting systems, software, enterprise resource planning. We have got a better visibility of our business than we've ever had in the past. Our founder, Zane Yoshida, has come back into the business in an executive role as COO and as executive director since June 2022. And between Pravinesh, Zane, and myself, we've been building the business into a much leaner and much more profitable business. We have a whole new board of directors, all of whom are being remunerated with stock only until the business becomes cash flow positive. James Dack is our non-executive chairman. James is well known, the founder of McGrath Real Estate and a very prominent investor and philanthropist in Australia, the chairman of the Police Citizens Youth Club, recently awarded the Order of Australia for his work with youth. James Tonkin is a long-standing partner of the business who helped to develop the original Takimai products. He's launched over 1,000 beverages into the market in the US and is an expert in beverages, known as the beverage guru to many of his friends. Griffin Amose is the head of Kentucky Capital, the largest investment bank in the Pacific, who has been instrumental in ensuring that we have a good investor base from people and institutional investors in Fiji. This year, we've also signed 2 major distribution agreements. One with CJ Patel for the distribution of Takimai in 17 countries, with target sales over 11 million in 3 years, and one with Rulife Distribution for the Fiji carver products in Australia and China, with targets of 50 million Australian dollars over 4 years. Between these two contracts, our Tucky My brands in the Pacific and for Pacific Diaspora in Australia, Canada, and New Zealand, as well as our Fiji Kava products, targeting Western consumers in Australia, the tourist channel in Fiji, and in China, all have a great partner for distribution being managed in those particular markets. In terms of group performance, we'd like to highlight a few things, but the top line really is that all the numbers are trending in the right direction. Our revenue growth is accelerating since January. Our expenses as a percentage of sales is on a significantly downward trend. Our net loss is reducing every month and our net margins are improving every month. Our US business is now profitable on a monthly basis, and the Fiji business is largely self-sustaining in terms of the operations required to grow our demand that we're seeing from the US. The Australian business is also on a positive trend, with FijiCava.com now managed by Rulife's Choose Digital team in Australia, and our relationship with Coles is positive and profitable. In the US, we've been achieving profit for now the last, I can update that to 4 months. Overheads as a percentage of costs are tracking to about a sixth of what they were in Q2 last year. And a big part of that has also been that shipping and logistics between Fiji and the US has very much normalized. The full effects of our cost reductions will really be felt in the next quarter, as we've brought a lot of those cost savings to bear over the course of Q4. Amazon has been the major driver for us in the US. Fiji Kava is the #1 instant kava brand on Amazon. Daily sales are now over $2.5 thousand, and they're growing. The kava market on Amazon is quite big, $50 to $60 million per year. The instant kava market where we operate is only a small part of that, and we're now starting to branch out into the traditional kava market on Amazon as well. Our margins on that channel are excellent, around 60% as well. So this is an extremely profitable part of the business for us. And as we grow those profits through Amazon, we reinvest them in broadening our product range on the Amazon site. Datadan and Fiji Kava both have their own e-commerce platforms now. So Shopify launched in the last week of June for Fiji Kava, and the Datadan.com and the FijiKava.com e-commerce and fulfillment centers now integrated in Datadan's Portland site. We've got some great new products launching as well coming up soon, including a topical range of CBD for after workout and a Kava shots range launching before the end of the year, which will start with a focus online. The big opportunity that's untapped for us is the Kava bar market in the US, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that later. In Australia, we've changed the business model and reduced the cost base significantly in the last 12 months. We now fulfill everything from our own warehouse in Brisbane, and our 50-gram SKU in Coles is showing stronger sales and overall profitability in Coles. We've cut head office costs substantially, but remained very efficient in what we're doing. But again, the full impact of the cost reductions that we've made over the last 6 months will not be seen until the financial year 2024. But again, in Australia, you can see this key metric of sales to overheads to sales ratio moving in the right direction. And that uptick in sales that you see on the graph there in the last few months is the demand that's being driven by Rulife's team managing our e-commerce, with about 30% month-on-month growth over the first 2 months that they've had the account from us. Fiji's performance also doing very well on a positive trend in the last 6 months, with operations and costs both falling and sales rising. Sales have been driven mainly by an uptick in the tourist channel initially. When tourists came back to Fiji, all of our partners in the resorts, the airports, and the tourist targeted stores restocked with the Fiji Kava brand. These are very high margin products. We sell our kava at a very high price to tourists compared to the local market under the Tucky My brand. We're holding significant inventory across the multiple grades of extract that we use for our medicinal products in Fiji. So we have very low operating costs to fulfill our future orders in the nutraceutical channel through IMCD's Network Nutrition and of course in our own products. And we're maintaining around 100 days of cover for drinking kava, despite the huge demand upticks that we're seeing in Amazon in the US, which we really have to work hard to keep in stock. South Pacific Elixirs, through the CJ Patel contract and through the sales that we're seeing through Amazon, will be able to maintain adequate working capital to significantly grow over the coming years. So we won't be sending money to Fiji in the way that we've had to while we've been building this business. Our capacity now is also able to more than 5 times our production in the Fiji plant to meet the growth that we're expecting to see in financial year 2020 and financial year 24. So a hell of a lot of hard work done, particularly by Zane Yoshida and the team in Fiji, to bring this business to a new, better, larger site, upgrade our factory, and to keep us in stock throughout the pandemic and now into this growth phase that we're seeing at the end of this transformation. So moving forward to next year, there's 4 key growth pillars that we'd like to highlight where we think growth will come for with our company. Number 1 is to continue to focus on e-commerce. E-commerce for us has been very successful, and it's something which is scalable at low cost. #1 instant kava brand on Amazon. This is something that has been quite remarkable in terms of the growth. We've been trying as much as we can to stay in stock, but we've been shipping more and more instant kava to the US for the Fiji Kava brand on Amazon. Now exceeding $2,500 per day. We sell at an extremely high price on Amazon. Our margins there are over 60%. We established our own Shopify in the US, and we're now starting to see customers move from Amazon to our Shopify site. And there we capture an additional 25% margin simply from removing the Amazon merchant fee. Dadadan, Fiji Kava, and soon Takimai.com Shopify sites will be centrally fulfilled now from our Portland site, meaning that we'll capture even more savings on logistics. And since we've been looking at the Australian business with Choose Digital through RuLife, we've seen significant uptick, around 30% month on month, of what we're doing online in e-commerce in Australia. The great thing about e-commerce too is that we don't have to wait to launch new products. We can launch a new product tomorrow on our website if we wanted to. And and we're going to do that. We have amazing products like effervescent kava fizzes under development and our Takimai juice shots under development, which as soon as we produce them can come up online and consumers can access, fulfilled by us, next day delivery, great prices. And you can see some of our effervescent kava fizzes there on the right. The untapped opportunity for us in the US is the kava market, the kava bar market. Kava bars are really rapidly expanding in the US. Around 500 of them are now in operation through Florida, North Carolina, New York, California, Pacific Northwest, all around America. These kava bars are popping up. These are non-alcoholic cocktail bar premises. They serve kava and other herbal products in a bar format. Quite a high margin sale for the owner of the kava bar. But the supply into these bars is very unreliable. Both Zane and myself have toured these kava bars and met many of the kava bar owners, and the industry is typified by unreliable supply and long wait times for delivery and people going out of stock. So we think the opportunity for a really reliable, consistent, professional supply of kava into these kava bars is there for the taking. Our initial estimates are that the demand across the 500 kava bars is around 70 metric tons of kava per year. So it's a significant opportunity for us, and we're ready to start the business in the second quarter of this financial year. We've got a ton and a half of kava as our first order into the US coming through the Port of Boston and Customs at the moment. We'll start on the ground sales and marketing activations in October, and we'll be using the fair.com platform to set up a B2B business channel so that kava bar owners for the first time will be able to go to a professional website, order what they need, have that fulfilled by a professional fulfillment service, and know that reliably they're going to receive the stock that they need. There's more value than just selling kava in bulk to these bars as well. We think there's a significant opportunity for our Dadadan CBD tinctures to be offered in a bulk format behind the bar. And the Takimai juice shots that we formulated are going to be an ideal long life takeaway product that people can take as they leave the bars. There's also significant merchandising and shop fitting opportunities for the Fiji Kava and Takimai brands in that channel. Asia market penetration is the third pillar for next year. We're going back into Asia after a little bit of a hiatus with China and the cross-border opportunity through RuLife Group. We chose RuLife because they've got a track record in working with brands that have the kind of products that we have. So we have OTC medicines and functional beverages. They've done a great job with Remedy Kombucha and their clients AFT Pharmaceuticals. They'll be selling our products on their own platform, as well as we are setting up now a flagship store on Alibaba's Tmall. We're also actively looking for co-packing partnerships and joint ventures for beverages in the Chinese market. So the strong social media presence that RuLife has established for us means that we're able to now start talking to Chinese beverage manufacturers, marketing partners, and brand ambassadors about the potential new drink products that we might make or in-license for that product or for that market in China. We've had a few promising initial discussions with some similar co-packers in India, and we've received a positive regulatory assessment for the Vietnam market and had initial conversations about our nutraceutical range and drinking kava range into Vietnam. So there are a number of Asian opportunities that are opening up for the company, and we'll be taking advantage of those this year. And then last but not least, profitable retail. So as we've looked at the retail markets, we've got some areas of the business that are more profitable than others, and we're going to be cutting the ones that aren't profitable and focusing on the ones that are. So Coles Australia is the first major retailer to launch drinking kava. It's continued to sell very well. Our 50-gram unit is profitable and selling extremely well in the vitamin aisle in Coles. You have to look quite hard to find it. It's up on the top shelf, so kids can't grab it, but it's there for you and often on special at half price. And we have additional SKUs in development for launching in Coles in January. CJ Patel has been our major retail player. So CJ Patel is the channel to the retail markets in the 17 countries that they have all of the Pacific nations, as well as the retail locations targeting Pacific Island communities in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and the USA. So obviously some big sales opportunities there with CJ Patel. They've launched in the Pacific in May. They've launched in New Zealand in June. We're expecting Australia, Canada, and USA to launch in the next quarter. So focusing on retail in a way that is profitable and managed through the right partners is how we simplify that. So that's the end of the presentation. I'll just remind everybody that we do have a rights issue on foot at the moment, and people may not have seen that that's been extended until Thursday, the 27th next week. That details of the rights issue are there on the screen. If you have not received your application form for the rights issue, you can feel free to email me with your name and address at the email that you see there, and I will sort out that you can get an application form sent to you. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Anthony. Now we'll move on to the Q&A session. If you have a question, please submit it via the Q&A function and we'll endeavour to see as many answered as possible during this session. If there are any unanswered questions after the event, they'll be forwarded to Anthony and his team to follow up later. Now, Anthony, the first question we have, what are the opportunities in Asia and which products are seeing demand?
Okay, yeah, so the major opportunities that we see are the ones that I outlined there. So cross-border for our OTC products into China is obviously number one. So there's a growing, there's a channel, a known channel for Australian nutraceutical and natural products to go into China through the cross-border e-commerce channel. So that's what we're going to focus on as the number one opportunity. We think that as big as that, if not even bigger, is the opportunity for the beverage products in China. But to do that, we're going to need to have a local partner to make those drinks there. So it's a little bit of a longer game, but we do think that's also a significant opportunity in the Chinese market. India is another one that's possible for us in Asia. We've had some really good conversations with some partners there that may be able to work with us in the beverage side of things in India. And as I said, Vietnam. So from a regulatory perspective, Vietnam has a green light for kava products in nutraceutical formats. So with some of the countries not available to us under regulatory restrictions, those would be the three major countries in Asia that we'll focus on.
And we're seeing a shift to health-focused boutique brands in FMCG, fast-moving consumer brands, particularly drinks. What partnerships are available and what sales channels from e-commerce are you looking at?
Yeah, so in terms of drinks, I mean, obviously drinks don't naturally come into the e-commerce channel as much as you would expect them to be in the convenience store or something we pick up. So we're going to focus on small format drinks, in particular our dietary shot range and our juice shot range as the first steps for us in e-commerce. The smaller format's more concentrated, it's more of an occasional format. We're seeing a lot of shots coming onto the market in Australia, turmeric shots, ginger shots, the Remedy kombucha shots. These things are actually starting to get very popular in Australia, so we might look at retail as well as e-commerce for those drink formats. But for us, we're focusing everything on something that nobody else can do, which is to produce fresh kava juice, because we source green, fresh kava from farms in our factory. We can actually juice that kava to create a concentrated kava juice. No one else can do that. So that's one of the things we're focusing on, is formulas that are based on that particular unique process.
And the last quarterly report noted development of prototype kava juice shots is nearing completion. Can you provide some clarity around these beverage products? What are they and what markets will they be sold in? Is the Taki Mai dietary shot range the same as was launched in 2016?
Yes. Okay. So no, it's not the same Taki Mai dietary shot range that was launched in 2016. Those shots in 2016 were based on a kava extract with flavorings in them. It's something that we still may well do. An extract-based flavored kava shot for the US market is possible. But our first opportunity that we're taking here is our juice shots, as I said. So we have a unique manufacturing process that uses fresh green kava, which means we can juice kava while everybody else deals with dried kava. So that juice is very, very unique in its properties. It's got very high kava lactone. It has a really interesting taste. If you've tasted kava in its powdered form, it's quite bitter and pungent. Fresh kava juice tastes more like ginger, or it's very herbal in its flavor. It's quite attractive flavor profile.
Thank you. And next question, Anthony, what are the Cameco's plans for the development of carbonated beverage products? This was mentioned in a previous presentation. Is this still planned?
Yeah, carbonated products, obviously the most complex products to make. So at the moment, that's something that we would be doing. If we did it, we'd do it in partnership, potentially as a licensing deal, or as something that we do in the future through with a co-packing partner. But we're focusing at the moment on our juice shots. We're also looking at some developments where we can take that concentrated juice and put it into a more of a long drink format. So think something that's more like a kava juice with a coconut water in a Tetra Pak. That's probably something that will come to market from us before a carbonated beverage, which I guess is probably our second or third horizon.
Do you think the Cameco will have an edge on competitors in terms of cost and consumer appeal?
Obviously, we're fully vertically integrated. So I think one of the things that we can do is that we pay a really good price for the kava to the farmers, which is important for social impact. But net, compared to our competitors, we do get a cheaper price compared to people that are moving through third party and brokers. So we do have a price advantage. We've seen a real improvement in the price of kava in the market since its peak during the pandemic. It's now down by about 50% compared to that. We've seen prices in Australia very normalized after the import requirements were lifted. So yes, we have a price advantage. And I think we're also investing a lot in telling the story about our supply chain. The project that I mentioned with traceable solutions, where people will be able to directly connect to the community that grew their kava and potentially participate in some of the social impact things that we're doing with those communities. For us, that's part of the edge, is that we are the company that's doing the right thing by farmers, as well as providing a really transparent and clean product to our consumers. So we obviously are always only sell noble kava, which is the healthy type of kava that the WHO has warranted for sale around the world. So we think we're ahead of everybody in terms of the ESG side of things. We've got an advantage due to our vertical integration. As I said, we've invested many millions of dollars into developing our supply chain and facilities in Fiji. That does give us an advantage compared to others who are buying things on the open market. So yeah, I think we have a lot of competitive advantages, and we have some really cool brands and some really cool product formats.
And what steps is the Cameco taking to build and maintain strong relationships with its new distribution partners and retailers?
Yeah, so we have a good relationship with with CJ Patel. Obviously, it's something that took a couple of years to get the deal done with them. Moving into the kava market for them was not something they did lightly. So I think we have continuous and ongoing meetings with them. We've been supporting them with some tweaks to our formulas based on some feedback that we've had from some of the markets that they're addressing. Obviously, they're a Indian Fijian company, so their retail network is a little bit different to the traditional Fijian networks that we've been in the past. So we've been updating some of our formulas. You can see tucking my low key there on my background is an example of that. That's a Luena or central rhizome based formula, which is more appealing for those kind of consumers. So we are in continuous conversations with them to make sure we're meeting their needs in the market.
And what is the anticipated impact of new sales channels or partnerships on your overall revenue growth?
Yeah, so I'd expect us to be continuing to grow the e-commerce channels, particularly Amazon, really strongly. More than doubling those channels in the coming year is certainly very achievable. And our hopes for the new product formats, particularly the kava juice shots, is very high. We'd expect those to sell out to really outsell our nutraceuticals significantly. It's an occasional format. It's a consumer product much more than a health product. So we think that those are going to outperform there. And in terms of the China opportunity, who knows how big that could be? I mean, that's something where it could be really huge, particularly if we were able to secure local co-packing for drinks in China. I mean, this could be absolutely massive. So I think what you see now with the business is a very solid base, and from that very solid base, the growth potential without really any need for additional capex investment is huge.
In terms of market trends and consumer preferences, what are some of those that are driving the growth of kava sales?
When we look at the kava market in the US in particular, that's where we're seeing the majority of growth is in that US market. I guess we are seeing a maturing of the market across the Pacific where people are looking at new innovative formats. So I think there is an opportunity for our liquid formats, particularly in the Pacific, to do very well. In the US, what we're seeing is really a market that's going very strongly through these kava bars, but also very strongly online. So we're seeing things like flavored kava. We're seeing things like stick packs with kava in them that go easily into solution. We ourselves are working on some effervescent formulations that can easily go into from powder into liquids. And I guess the other area for us in trends wise is looking at the sports side of things. It's something that has been an untapped opportunity. We know that a lot of people in the Pacific and the All Blacks, for example, consume kava after they play football to relax the muscles as a non-alcoholic way to relax. So we're looking at a couple of formulas around sports, particularly with magnesium and electrolytes and things like that, where we can bring the kava to people in a way that feels much more like a sports medicine product that they might be familiar with, but with the benefits of kava, and obviously working with the flavor profile there. So I think, yeah, so I think liquid formats, sports, and some of the flavored formats in the US are the trends that we're seeing.
Also, in terms of sustainability, what is the Cameco doing to minimize its environmental impact and positively contribute to the communities where the Cameco products are sourced and produced?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's something we're really committed to. So we've got a number of different things that we do in order to have a positive impact in the communities where we buy kava. Our partnership with the Itauke Trust Fund Board is part of that. So they're a governmental organisation that works with Indigenous people in Fiji. They put farmers into collectives that we purchase from. We also work a lot with the Tutu Agricultural College, who have some sustainable practices. They're a carbon neutral operation actually on the island of Tavayuni, and they have techniques for cultivating kava under the canopy. So it's a way to grow kava that doesn't require any land to be cleared, which has a really positive impact in terms of carbon footprint there as well. So we're working with them on how to take that particular farming practice as much as possible to other farmers around the Fiji Islands. And I guess the other part of it is the financial side of things. Kava is a big cash crop, but it takes a long time to grow. So it's a huge cash injection for the farmers when they harvest their kava. So that financial literacy side of things and making people able to access things like bank accounts, life insurance products and things like that. We do a lot of work with our partner DSP Life, who's one of our biggest investors. It's one of the largest banks and life insurance providers in Fiji to work with communities on that financial literacy side of things and make sure that they know how to put the money in the bank, save it for a period of time and do the financial planning and life insurance type of things that they probably didn't have access to do before they started working with us. So we're super committed to it. We think it's really good business to have that positive impact for the people in Fiji. We're the only foreign company that has a license to operate in the kava industry in Fiji. So it's our responsibility to do the right thing. And we do that at every step.
Well, thank you very much for all your insights there, Anthony. If you do have any questions that remain unanswered, please don't hesitate to direct them to Anthony and his team at the Cameco. Thank you to everyone who has joined us today and for sending all your interesting questions across. A copy of this recording will be made available for viewing over the next few days. Anthony, again, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks, Branko.